Hello everyone, my name is Quick Kruger and welcome back to Command Block Basics, a series where I teach you the basics of command blocks. We're already in the lab, so let's get going, and I'm going to just show you this room real quick. And, oh, looks like I got some zombies to kill. I'm just gonna take them out real quick and easy. And yeah, little trap room there, or arena. So I'm going to show you kind of a breakdown of the different mechanics that made that room and try to explain the basic components. So we're going to start off with the door that, or I guess the blocks that block the entryway when you first enter the room. So first I'll show you the blocks, which, there you go, flip the switch, they're there, flip it again, they're not. And now I'll show you some of the commands. In this case you'd use the fill command to bring the blocks in, and the fill command goes like this. You put the command, the coordinates, the starting coordinates, the ending coordinates, and then the type of block you'd like to use to fill. And in this situation, I'm just using a little bit of redstone to make it so when I flip the switch on, this command runs because it turns off this redstone torch. And then when I flick the switch off, it stops depowering the torch, so it powers this block, which is just like the other one except it fills with air. And the fill command is great just because it fills blocks in whatever region you want up to a certain limit. I don't know off the top of my head the maximum number of blocks you can fill at a time, but they're great for shutting off passages or opening up passages, or doing anything like that. I also used it with this, where it simply replaces a block with another one. Alright, so that's a simple way of blocking off a doorway or doing a multitude of other things. So now we'll move on to how I made the little scoreboard on the right side of the screen pop up. So we'll start off by flicking this lever, and that creates the scoreboard objective called zKills, which popped up. And then if I click this, it makes it so the scoreboard is visualized on the screen. And then this adds me as a player who has that objective, and by hitting that, right now I'm adding 0. That's the best way to initialize it. With that room I did not initialize it. It didn't start adding points to me, or I didn't show up on the scoreboard until I started getting points. But that is how you initialize it, is using this command. And lastly, you can add points, or kills in this case, to a player using this command. And now in Bedrock Edition, the scoreboard command is very limited compared to other versions of the, compared to the Java edition of Minecraft, in that the only scoreboard tool that exists, or variable, is the dummy variable, which is simply a variable that holds numbers. Hence why I'm counting upwards. And you can also count downwards. You can remove points as well. But the point is, you can only hold numbers in the scoreboard in Bedrock Edition. Also, there's no built-in functionality for tracking the number of zombies that get killed, so I had to use a variety of command blocks to do that, and I'll show you in a few seconds a command that can help you keep track of that. But anyway, so now if I flick this off, it's similar to this, where it activates this torch, which runs this command, which removes the objective from the scoreboard and thereby removes the display from your screen. So now if we move on from scoreboard, we'll go over here to this is showing how we summon entities and also how we keep track of the number of entities in a given area. So if I click this button, it creates zombies. It's just the summon command. It's a pretty straightforward command. There are a couple other variables or arguments that you can add to this that I won't cover in this video, but simply put, you can summon any entity in the game in a specific location. So that would be any mob, whether hostile or peaceful, and it also includes armor stands, as well as I think a few other things. Now this is the thing that will count the number of zombies. So it tests for at entity zombie in the location where these two zombies are located, and if you put a comparator next to this block, it'll give a redstone output that is equal to the number of zombies in that area. So if there are none, then it'll not give any redstone output. If there's one, it'll be one. Distance, and then 2 for 2, so on and so forth. And in this case, I set it up so that if we get to 3 zombies, after a couple seconds, it'll kill them all off because the redstone reaches this command block, and this command block says to kill all the zombies after 20 ticks. And then it also destroys all their drops. So this is what I use to first determine if I have enough zombies in that room, and then after that, each zombie I kill with a bunch of redstone wiring will add to the tally of the zombie kills. And you could do that for each different mobs individually. You just have to test in a limited area, and also it doesn't apply well to multiple players' scores. It would work best in an arena setting, at least in this version of Minecraft, where it's a team versus a bunch of monsters. Potentially 2 teams against each other, and because I believe you can test what team, or check what team a player is on when you test, when you use the testfor command. So, but that's a little bit more complicated and would require a lot more redstone. And I will cover, if people are interested, I'll cover the redstone for how I actually specifically track the number of zombies killed, just because it's a bit involved and it's outside the scope of this video. I decided it would be beneficial to include the mechanism I made to count mob kills at the end of this video instead of saving it for another video, because I thought it might be useful to anyone who's interested, but it is at the end of the video, as it leaves the basics and goes into slightly more advanced stuff, and goes into some redstone techniques. So that's the summon, that's how the zombies showed up. And next is the playsound command. In this instance, I am playing an anvil sound for when the door shuts behind you. So when those blocks are filling, I immediately after have this command played that plays the anvil sound. And lastly, we have the title from when you clear the room. It says room clear, and that's it. It's just a title command, which it can be whatever you want. You can adjust the timing with a slightly different command, which I can show you right now. Title. But it's the times condition, and you can set, I believe it's the number of ticks it takes for it to fade in, the number of ticks it stays, and the number of ticks for it to fade out. And you can change that per person, it looks like. And every time you want the title to act differently, have a longer fade in or a longer fade out, you will need to adjust those numbers if it's happening for the same players. So it's safest to just do it every single time. So now that I've done a quick rundown of these different commands, let's go back into this room, and I want you to look for where the different commands are used. So I'm going to go backwards to kind of give you a little bit of a help. Alright, so that gives you an idea of how to build a room like that. That will be it for this video. I hope it helps, and I hope it gives people some ideas of what they can do for adventure maps with command blocks in Bedrock Edition. I will continue to make some simple videos about the basics of command blocks, and I will try to focus in on specific commands more. I just wanted to make this video to kind of get people excited about what is possible, even in Bedrock Edition, with the limitations compared to Java Edition. And yeah, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like or subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. Here we have the mechanism that I made for counting the number of kills against zombies in that in the trap room that I made. You can see it's got a lot of redstone. Don't let that intimidate you. It's not as complicated as it might look to anyone who is not super familiar with redstone. So what I'm doing here is this is the command, like I showed before, that tests for zombies in a certain area, and this tests for zombies in the room, the trap room. Once it hits 3 zombies, so what I have it doing is once it hits 3 zombies, this redstone signal will be able to reach that piston, and once any amount of zombies is in there, this piston will retract. So that block will go up here, and a redstone signal, which will be coming out of these, because all of these are comparators, which will tell you how many zombies are in the room by the signal length. And so, with that going up, it'll send a signal through. An important thing to know is a comparator going into a block, the block doesn't count as part of the length of the signal. So when there's 3 zombies in there, if I had a comparator coming out of the block and out of there and out of there, it would actually it would reach the maximum number of zombies, or would think it had 3 zombies. Ooh. It would think it had 3 zombies when there were actually only 2 in the room. And so then, or actually that doesn't make sense. It would think it has 4 zombies when there are actually only 3. Because if you had it going 1, 2, 3, once the block goes up, if 1 zombie got killed, it wouldn't change any of these repeaters that are going out here, and it wouldn't count the kill. So that's something important to note, is that that does not count as part of the distance or the length for the redstone signal. Now, so once this has detects 3 zombies, it'll put the signal out here, raise this block, and then the block will allow for all of these repeaters to get a signal at approximately the same time. As you can see by how they're set up, this one will actually get it first by a tick, and that's mostly to help with the system, but I'll cover that in just a second. So these then send signal through these blocks, which the left one goes over there to that command block, and then this guy over here, and so on and so forth. And what happens is, since this signal goes out first, it will lock, or it will activate the comparator from the side with a stronger redstone signal than from this side, which will result in the comparator staying off, which is what we want because this adds to the kill count. This block right here does. All these blocks do. So the comparator is off because there are 3 zombies alive. Once one zombie dies, this turns off, that turns off, but there are still 2 zombies left, so this comparator stays on. Or turns on, since there's no longer a signal coming from the side that is stronger than the signal from the back. And then it activates this impulse block and adds a point to the score. And it's the same thing for here. When there's only 1 zombie left, this deactivates, but this line is still active, and that will activate that block. And then same for when there are none left. This deactivates as soon as there are any, but it'll reactivate as soon as none are left, which will then power this block, which will add to the score. And as you can see, this setup only works for 3 zombies, but you can expand it as far as redstone signals go, which I believe is 15 blocks, maybe it's 16. So you can do it for up to 16 zombies at a time, unless something's changed with comparators and they can go further than the maximum redstone signal length, which I do not believe is the case. I can test that and edit in if I was wrong, but yeah. And so that's how you count up from the number of zombies. Now, once it hits 0, this redstone torch, which was being deactivated because there was at least 1 zombie, will reactivate and activate this block, which removes the blocks that I used to block the doorway. That's a lot of blocks. And then it activates the title, it activates the text, and it activates the sound effect as well as the particle effect on the player, which, you know, is what brings like the room clear effect. And this I just added to kind of add a little flair to the demo I was showing you. It's not necessary, but if you're doing like a, I don't know, like a roguelike dungeon or something and some of the rooms lock you in, then maybe this would be useful to like let them know, yeah, you did it, good job, you know, help them feel good. And then when there's 0 zombies left, since this activates this line, gets a signal and activates this piston. This piston's been deactivated already, and neither of these are sticky pistons, so this doesn't pull the block back down. The block stays until there are 0 zombies, because this doesn't push it back down until there are 0 zombies. This could be replicated for any mob, so you could make an arena that has multiple types of mobs and you track their individual kill counts. The only fallback, or the major fallback that I can think of, is this system does not work with with individual scores. So if you want something like this on a multiplayer server, you will need to check within a radius, most likely, of the mob. Well, yeah, probably check within a radius of a mob or of a mob's drops to see who may have killed it and try to use that, but that's not a reliable method. Another possibility, actually that's probably the only possibility I can think of to make that work for tracking individual scores. It would have to be a team versus mobs, and it would just track it under one of the players. Also, if you could find a way for it to work, it would most likely only work with melee weapons to track individual scores, as you'd probably need to check within a radius around the mob, whereas if you used ranged weaponry, that wouldn't work because another player could be closer even though they didn't get a kill. They didn't get the kill. So yeah, this is what I came up with, my solution to that issue. I've seen a lot of other solutions to this online as I was looking to see if anyone else had made something like this. Some of them check for experience orbs on kills, some of them check for mob drops. I didn't think either of those was necessarily very reliable. Experience orbs work for mobs specifically, but if it's like two teams against each other, then it kind of breaks down and it won't really work for that situation, unless every player has experience points, and they made it so everyone's forced to have at least one level in experience. But I didn't think that was a solution that I wanted, so I came up with this, and I don't know if it's a better solution, but I do know I prefer it, and it allows for maybe a little bit more flexibility in arena type combat. It could track player deaths and mob deaths, or more specifically the number of players killed by a team versus the number of mobs killed by a team, and stuff like that. I hope to expand upon this system in the future if possible, but this is already way out of the basics, which is why I'm adding this to the end of the video for anyone who wants to stay for it, as it's not the core part of the video. Yep. So we're gonna go back to the end, so we're gonna go back to the outro of the video.